Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal News. Today's article comes from earthlymission.com, and the headline is 28,000-year-old woolly mammoth cells brought back to life by scientists. Cells from a woolly mammoth that died around 28,000 years ago have begun showing signs of life during a groundbreaking scientific experiment. The young woolly mammoth was dug out of Siberian permafrost in 2011. With the species being extinct for about 4,000 years, finding such a relatively intact specimen was big news, particularly since this one was 28,000 years old. Scientists have since been eager to find out how viable the biological materials of the uncovered mammoth still are, all those millennia later. Now researchers at Kendai University in Japan have found that its DNA is partially intact, and apparently they are well in the game to restore this huge prehistoric mammal back among the living. Anyway, it all comes down to the fact that the scientists at the university have managed to extract nuclei from the mammoth cells and transplant them into mouse oocytes, cells found in ovaries that are capable of forming an egg cell after genetic division. After that, the cells from the 28,000-year-old specimen started to show signs of biological activities. This suggests that despite the years that have passed, cell activity can still happen and parts of it can be recreated, said study author Kai Miyamoto from the Department of Genetic Engineering at Kendai University. 5 of the cells even showed highly unexpected and very promising results, namely signs of activity that usually occur immediately preceding cell division. Establishing whether the mammoth DNA could still function wasn't an easy task. Researchers began by taking bone marrow and muscle tissue samples from the animal's leg. These were then analyzed for the presence of undamaged nucleus-like structures, which once found were extracted. Once these nuclei cells were combined with mouse oocytes, mouse proteins were added, revealing some of the mammoth cells to be perfectly capable of nuclear reconstruction. This finally suggested that even 28,000-year-old mammoth remains could harbor active nuclei, meaning something like that resurrecting a specimen like this one would be quite possible. While Miyamoto admits that we are very far from recreating a mammoth, plenty of researchers attempting to use gene editing to do so are confident that that achievement is around the corner. Recent efforts using the controversial CRISPR gene editing tool are arguably the most promising of late. But do we really need to resurrect a species that went extinct a long time ago? And that is the end of this article. Now, this one is an exciting one because we've talked about this on Staring into the Abyss before. We've discussed how they were attempting to do this very thing, how they were trying to bring back the mammoth and they thought that it could be done, but it wasn't proven yet. Now they are way closer. They have proven that they can cause cell division, and once you have cell division, that's the whole ball game right there. Once you get the cells to start dividing and replicating themselves and reproducing, it isn't long before you can create life. So we are well on the road to doing that. Now, is it something we should do or not? That's a big question, and it's a big moral and ethical question that a lot of people will wrestle with. To me, I'm not going to get into whether we're playing God and all that kind of stuff because I don't pretend to know the mind of God. The Bible doesn't really tell us that we can't do this, not to do this, or whatever. So if you're going to say that God wouldn't want us to do it or whatever, you're going to have to show me where that says that. Is it smart to do it? Well, a mammoth is a very big creature. It's not like we're bringing back a raptor or a T-Rex or something like that. But we are bringing back basically a giant elephant with big old tusks. So what purpose would the mammoth serve for us to bring it back? It's obviously not going to be able to just be running wild and free in the jungle somewhere and living its life. If we bring it back, it's going to be a couple things that are going to happen. One, you're definitely going to have a mammoth that's going to be dissected in a lab and all that kind of stuff. They're going to do tests on it and experiments and just see how the thing works. That's absolutely going to happen. I don't really like the idea of that happening, but you know that's going to happen. I also imagine if they bring one back, they're going to want it to be something that is commercially productive. So they're going to want to make money off of this thing. So I can foresee definitely mammoths in zoos and them getting a nice price for one. So when you go to the zoo in the city near you, you'll be able to see a real life woolly mammoth. But I think also mammoth is a large animal, like I said, and there's a hell of a lot of meat on a mammoth. And if we look back in history, one of the things that all the textbooks say and all the quote-unquote experts in the field say is that we used to hunt mammoths and eat them. So if we used to eat them back then, we can most certainly eat them right now. So I would also imagine that one of the uses for this mammoth when we bring it back would be as a meat animal. I could see mammoth steaks being sold, and probably in the beginning being sold for quite a lot of money. And then once they perfect this to where they can create as many as they want, you've got a steady food supply there that you could feed the world with if you really wanted to. Because each mammoth is going to produce a hell of a lot of meat. And if you're cranking these things out like on an assembly line, then there's no limit to the amount of steaks that you can produce. Your steaks, burger, whatever you want to do with it, you can feed a lot of people. Now, I don't look for it to be altruistic like that. I don't look for people to, just out of the goodness of their heart, donate mammoth meat. I'm sure they're going to want to sell it. But I can definitely see it being a major contributor to the food supply at some point in the future, if that's the direction we decide to go with it. Now, is that moral to do? Well, essentially, we're creating a creature just to eat it. And if you think about it, we kind of do that already. Now, granted, we're not making cows and chickens and fish and stuff like that in a lab. But we are breeding them for the sole purpose of eating them. So I don't see much of a difference, honestly, between bringing back the mammoth just for the purpose of eating. There's no difference between that and factory farming. It's just as cruel if you think about it. A lot of people don't want to think about those things because they want to be detached from their food source. But for somebody like me who lives in the country and I hunt and I fish, I know where my food comes from. I kill my food a lot of times. I have slaughtered my own animals. I have butchered them. I know how to cut one up. I know what's inside of it. I know what it takes to put that food on the table. A lot of people don't have that knowledge. They've never done it. So I don't really see anything wrong with using the mammoth as a food source. I'm sure that there will be people listening to this video who disagree, and feel free down in the comments whether you think it's a good idea or not to let me know. I would like to read that and find out. And let me know what you think about bringing back a mammoth, period. Do you think it's something we ought to do? I have mixed emotions on it. I don't know if it's such a great idea. In one way, like I said, there's a use for it. You can provide a hell of a lot of food, and that's good. And if you can start bringing back other animals that are good food sources as well, that's a good thing. My worry about it is once they figure out how to do this and they get good at doing this, what is to stop them from then bringing back like the saber-toothed cat and bringing back maybe even dinosaurs someday? Are we going to see a day where there's a real life Jurassic Park? Are we going to see a day where people are actually bringing raptors back? Velociraptors. Are we going to see that? Because a velociraptor was a badass animal. And I don't want those things brought back. They're dangerous as hell. Imagine a pterodactyl being brought back. Imagine a flock of pterodactyl flying through the damn sky, swooping down and plucking people up off the street. That's some scary stuff, man. And I guarantee you, if we know how to do it, and it's possible to do it, some idiot's going to do it somewhere. Somebody's going to say to hell with it and do it because they think they can make a hell of a lot of money. And that's going to happen. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. As always, thank you for hanging out, and I will catch you on the next one. Until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.